Good evening. My name is John Bailey, and this is People to Be Heard, the program where people who have something to say have their say. And tonight, you've got Timothy Katenkamp of the Davey Tree Services in Elmsford, an arborist company. Thank you for coming on the show in this winter of great anxiety. All right. So, first of all, you're here to help us assess the impact of the rains, winds, and storms that have swept across the county the last 2 months. Mm-hmm. What do you make of it? How does it compare with other periods?
I think, we've been experiencing a lot more rainfall than normal. As far as storms, and winds, we have experienced, I think that's kind of in the norm, but we have gotten a lot more rain than usual lately. So, and it affects tree health and,
and knocks them down on occasion.
Well, what knocks them down is the wind. Yeah. So the when the soil becomes saturated, it actually lifts the roots and then follow. And roots are what anchors the tree, and when the saturated soils are followed by wind follows the saturated soils, you will have trees falling down.
Has this been one of the busiest seasons you've ever had?
No.
It is not?
No.
So it doesn't compare to some of the disasters?
No. I mean, Sandy, 2013 was the worst of the worst.
Mm-hmm. And how efficient have arborists like yourself and, of course, landscapers been able to get to properties, clear away or trim the damage? How behind are we in taking care of the damages?
We, as a company, the Davey Tree Expert Company in Elmsford is all caught up with, storm-related work. What we do during these winter months is we do seasonal inspections. We're trying to visit our clients and, assess things. A lot of the damage that trees sustain is long-term damage and short-term damage. So the short-term damage that we see is, when we have the saturated soils and the roots will lift and then winds will follow that. But the long-term damage is from, saturated soils will create root rot things. So we have to, as arborists, look at the soil, and also what's directly going on up in the canopy a lot of times is related to what's going on in the soil. So it's a constant monitoring that we do as arborists, and we have to look at each tree individually and assess each tree individually.
And sometimes you can take limbs off at tops of trees that are damaged, and the tree you can save and replenish its foliage, correct? What
we're looking for in the canopies of trees that will tell us, what's going on with the, with the root system is, a lot of, stunted growth, dead wood. But what we're trying to do is approach safety first, and preservation too. So.
Now, what is the range of expenses homeowners who need trees removed, trimmed, and cleaned up, so to speak, still standing trees in need of trim? I know I recently had a big problem, so
the cost?
Yes.
So it can range anywhere from a few $100s to a few $1,000s. Yes. So it all depends on the size of the tree, the location, how accessible is the tree to, equipment. A lot of times, at the Davey Tree Expert Company, we will try to, safety is a culture for us. So what we'll try to do is, utilize equipment where we can and think of the safest way possible to do it. And a lot of times, when we can get equipment closer to a tree, we'll be able to cut down costs there, and it's safer overall. But we do have very experienced climbers who can, go to the most remote tree and, safely do it as well. It's a little bit more time consuming. But
has your staff been with you a long time for the most part?
For the most part, we have a wide range. We have people with over 30 years in the production end of the business, and we have people that have been here 3 weeks. So we have a, vast range of experience, and it's constant training. Even the most experienced people go through training on a daily, weekly basis.
Like what sort of? Wet limbs, things like that?
Well, we have training involved with certain techniques, rules, and policies that we have to follow. A lot of things in our industry are ever changing, so we have to adjust and take that into consideration. But we have an extensive training program where they will follow a skill set and move their way up through the actual training process. So there's a lot of it's a hazardous job, so safety has to be number one.
Are there any state services that can ease the financial pain owners face from, a series of trees coming down?
There are in times of emergency and disaster relief. You will see most of the money there'll be federal money sent to the state. Then the state will distribute it to the county, and then. But the best way to research that and to find out what's available is going to a town, village, city, whatever municipality, and starting locally, and then seeing what help's available there.
Yes, in White Plains, the amount of help you get depends on how close you are to your setback.
Yeah, it does.
Which is a problem. But that being the case, and are there insurance companies who will insure against disasters like that?
There are, yeah.
But so it's rather prohibitive, isn't it?
Most of the time, insurance companies will, cover the expense of certain things when there's structural damage. So, sometimes, a fence or
hitting the
a roof. Yeah, and as arborists, we try to prevent all those things from happening. So, but insurance companies will cover that. And a lot of people can call their local municipality, and, I have been a part of towns in Westchester that have helped the, homeowners assist in, maybe some removal of some debris,
Yes, we do have that so that they keep the roads open.
Yeah.
And however, the taking care of the damage of the tree if it falls down into your yard, that is your problem.
That's your responsibility.
That's right.
Yeah, at your property line, it's your responsibility.
Yeah. And do services like yours, and you were talking with Timothy Katenkamp he is assistant manager of Davey Tree Services in Elmsford, and they are an arborist company. So, do services like yours have long-range pay plans, like stretching it out over time, or any ways to handle
we take into consideration
thousands of dollars,
certain things, and I wouldn't say long range, but we will work with certain people in need, And we give the fairest price that we can. And long range, I would say no. But short, 90 days, 90 days, yeah, okay. 90 days. But we do make exceptions, and I mean, we do consider, people's need.
Are your employees salaried, or are they hourly basis?
Our production employees are hourly employees, yes.
Hourly.
Yes.
Hourly. I see. So are homeowners delaying cleanups because of the damage?
Not that I've noticed.
And the cost?
No. Most of our clients are pretty proactive. We do get calls where, people know the expense of doing tree work, and it has to do with, the rates are all associated with the amount of, equipment involved and the expense of the equipment and the training involved with the men. And, but most people in Westchester are, proactive and do things when they should.
Right,
yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
And so basically you've been really busy the last 3 or 4 weeks, right?
Yes.
Yes,
yes.
Exactly. And so, but you have enough staff to...
yes, we have, the Davey Tree Expert Company has resources. We have all different offices that are, in the metro area that we can kind of, share resources. Yes, yeah. So we have a lot of crews. We can get to everybody on time. And we also have the ability of working with each other within our company and different offices that are close by, yes.
How many offices do you have in the area?
Within the New York, we have, that I'm close with, there's 5 offices.
5 offices.
Yes.
So that would cover 5 boroughs in Manhattan and Westchester County.
Westchester, Fairfield.
I see.
New Jersey, Rockland County.
Is the county pretty well cleaned up now from the big noise from when that came?
I would say 85%. I know, the areas around the homes and the most used areas are, almost entirely cleaned up. The the backyards and the lower use areas, there's still, I've noticed still debris in people's backyards. Yes.
So, the Westchester have been pretty responsive for getting cleanups done and back to normal. Now, when there's a does this create a lot of delays in cleanup?
When there's, excuse me?
Con Ed has an electrical outage in a widespread area.
Con Edison, yes.
It has been known to happen.
Yes.
And how does that affect how fast you can get to work?
We're out there right away. That doesn't, we're assisting in, getting them, but we are equipped to handle it right away. It doesn't delay us.
Do you clear as a Con Ed contracted?
No, we have, Davey has a utility division devoted towards, handling such things. But we're more residential commercial, and after this storm passes, we do our best to get out to the property, right away.
Yes, there has been problems in the past of Con Ed having to have an area cleared before they can turn things back on. And that has improved considerably, but that always is something that the consumers wonder, well, when am I going to get back on? And they can't do it with live wires. Now, what is the general policy of city property versus private property cleanup around the county? Not just White Plains.
So
is it all property line?
you know, the policy between each city and municipality has their own kind of, you know, policies. But as far as, you know, there's municipalities that have DPW that will do their work. There's municipalities that will have vendors, like companies like mine that work for the municipality come in and help clean up. But every situation is different. Every town is different how they approach it.
Now, when should a homeowner call an expert to their property?
They should call it, I would say, before anything happens, you know, they should be preventative with their approach. And if you have large, you know, trees and, you know, there's a potential for the trees to hit the house, then I would recommend calling in an arborist, you know.
Yeah, if you're worried that the
limb
is going to, it's in its fall
so
zone.
If you have a target within, you know, proximity to a larger tree, but, you know, as arborists, we take care of, you know, small trees to large trees to shrubs. So it's, you know, I would call if there's a concern, if there's any question.
Yeah, what is the number to call? Davey.
Davey?
Yeah. Who do they want to speak to about?
So at Davey we have multiple arborists, so they would call our office, and then depending on, you know, what town you live in, we have an ISA certified arborist that you know, specific to that town.
Oh, who know the area?
Yeah,
that's quite an advantage.
Yeah.
And now, how did you get into arboristry?
So I got into arboriculture. I went to school for business, and then I thought to myself, you know, I really would like to find a job or career where I'm not in an office setting. And I went to school at Paul Smith's College for arboriculture and got a degree in urban tree management, and that was 26 years ago. And, you know, after, you know, there's an industry, in our industry, the International Society of Arboriculture, which we call ISA, has a certification program where you have to, you know, pass an exam to become certified, and then you have to keep up with continuing education units. And, you know, that's what a certified arborist.
I see.
Yeah.
And do you, now that you are in management and working indoors most of the time, do you miss the outside?
No, I spend most of my time outside.
You
still.
do? I see. On site.
Yes.
Okay, it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Now, again, do you have a phone number for Davey in case people have questions? Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's multiple numbers. I don't have.
Okay, so you have a website, and we'll try and get a slide for that. And now, what are the best tips to care for trees long term? It's spring. We're coming into spring if it ever arrives. So, what should a homeowner be thinking about?
So, a homeowner should, you know, contact an ISA certified arborist and have a property evaluation done. During that property evaluation, the arborist is going to look to, you know, assess pruning needs of large mature trees, and they would take out dead wood. They would, you know, selectively thin out a tree, reduce lateral branches, and then you're also looking to selectively, you know, pinpoint dead trees, you know, trees that are leaning. We're also going to want to, you know, prepare the planting beds around the house with mulch. You want to make sure an arborist is going to look for overwintering insects, and that's a separate part where we focus on integrated pest management. So we're going to do fertility treatments to the soil to make sure that the tree is healthy, insect and disease control. You can look at lightning protection, putting in lightning protection on certain trees to be preventative there.
How does that work?
Turf care. So when you have a large mature tree and it's close to a structure, and you want to preserve that large tree, you can actually, there's a formula to follow with the species of the tree, the size of the tree, and then you'll basically install the lightning protection to, a lot of these large trees that are out there by themselves are so tall that, lightning will strike them. So you do that as a preventative, put the lightning protection in there.
Is that expensive to add?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It is, yeah. But for the most part, on these large feature, there's 200-year-old trees, a lot of people will go through that expense to do that.
Yeah. So now, should even small properties do this for their yards, or is that mainly meant for the 1 acre type?
No, the size of the property doesn't matter. It's if you have trees, they need to be maintained.
And what are a few spring tips that homeowners should be considering the weather we have experienced this winter?
So in the springtime, what homeowners should do is call out an ISA certified arborist to assess, because of the saturation in the rains that we've faced. The arborist can inspect the soil, the ground to these trees, inspect the canopy of the trees, and also devise a care program for the pruning needs and recommendations, as well as insect and disease control, fertilization. Most arborists will also have experience with turf care, because it goes hand in hand. Caring for the soil of turf also relates to trees.
Well, that is quite a lot of issues to consider. Does your company offer, say, a year-round service plan? Which
yes. So
how does that work?
So, the species of trees and shrubs on a property are going to, dictate to us as arborists what insect diseases are related. So we create, as part of plant healthcare, integrated pest management programs where we come out, certain times of year to address certain issues, but we want to be preventative but not always just curative. We actually will also do fertility treatments, fertilization, and we also take care of turf and lawn.
Right. Now, what do you see are the environment, weather-related issues you expect to see Westchester experience this summer? What is your company planning for? Well,
I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't predict the weather, but as a company, the Davey Tree Expert Company will prepare for every scenario. So whether it be, a drought or, excessive rainfall, winds, storms, we're always prepared for any scenario.
So,
but as far as predicting geographically what Westchester will experience,
well, are you expecting heavy drought and very hot weather?
I have to expect the worst of both extremes. Yes.
How do you handle drought? Why? I water, with a hose. But is there a more effective way of helping plants survive drought?
Well, there's certain species of plants, trees are going to be more drought tolerant than others. Most native plants are more are hardier in conditions. But what we do, we actually will do systemic injections of water. We will water as part of an IPM program. We amend soil conditions to help with drought, and we monitor closely as part of our IPM program.
I see. Well, and of course, if you were to get the heavy rains, that's another thing that you have to perform damage control on, right?
Yep.
How do you handle a very sodden yard?
So heavy rains will, roots will need oxygen, and the saturated soils, the water will excessive rain will take the oxygen out of the soil and cause issues. So there's different ways that you can amend the soil.
You can overwater.
You could overwater, you can underwater, and a lot of times the signs are the same. So stunted branches, declining branches, and discoloration.
Well, this has been a fascinating exploration of our yards, which we look at every day, and we really don't know how to take care of it. I mean, we've been speaking with Timothy Katenkamp, the assistant manager of Davey Tree Services in Elmsford, and he has acquainted us on there's more to your yard just looking at it and cutting the lawn. There's a lot more. Thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you.
Right. And this is John Bailey saying good night for people to be heard and happy yard keeping. Right.
Thank you.